must be calm. I will invite this new colonel over for dinner, and we will woo him into changing his mind.
Woo him?
We green women have our ways.
That's as good as letting Papa rap behind bars.
Lower your voice, please. If no favors are to be paid us, then for now we must follow the rules.
That is all we ever do, follow their rules. And what has it gotten us, Mother? What did it get Tom?
Alice.
If you want to sit idly about and let them run roughshod
idle.
over us, you may do so. But I swear I will not submit. I will do my part to defend who we are.
Alice!
So Mercy Street is an amazing series on PBS about the Civil War and about a very fancy hotel that was turned into a hospital for the troops. And this lady across from me plays a devoted nurse who sacrifices everything. Oh, wait, right, wrong character.
Wrong character.
Totally wrong character. Why don't we talk about your
I'll
character?
talk about it. Yeah. It's all good. It's okay. It's streaming on pbs.com and Amazon and iTunes if you want to catch up on it. This Sunday is our season finale, so there are only 6 episodes, so you can binge watch in a weekend and not feel guilty, right? So I play Alice Green, and she is based on, so the Green family they're a real family. It's really fascinating. What I love about our show is we had so many historical experts. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk to you or the audience, I feel.
To me.
Okay, great. We had so many historical experts, and they did so much intensive research on all of the people and their diaries and letters. And so the Green family is a real family, and they owned the Mansion House Hotel, and Alexandria was the longest occupied Union city. So they're Confederates, but they have the enemy basically living in their house and in their hotel. And so we sort of are able to see 2 sides. And Alice, my character, she really goes through a transformation in this series from being a young girl. Like, this is sort of the pinnacle I did a lot of research, and they gave me just books and movies and all sorts of things to watch and read. And there's so much to learn about. But basically, these young women are sort of in the prime of their life, because once they are married in that time, they're much more constrained. So they've just gone to school. Typically, upper class girls, they go to a boarding school, or they're educated in the home, and then these big balls, and they're being courted. And so it's kind of like Alice doesn't really live in the real world. So the fact that there's a war is an inconvenience to her. So she's a bit vapid, and it's a lot of fun to play. And she goes through some significant losses and really becomes a very conservative and rebellious.
Well, I mean, she is vapid, but as the series progresses, she does become more aware of what's going
Completely,
on. I mean,
yes.
I guess there's no other way when it's right under her nose, literally.
Yeah, it's right in front of her. So it was really fun to create that arc with the creators of the show and sort of map it out from episode to episode, because first she's, the romance of war with her beau, who's a soldier, and she's heartbroken, and then she goes and sees him and sees these real traumas affecting him, and it begins to shake her world, and her family's starting to crumble, and her father, played by Gary Cole, he's awesome, and Donna Murphy, she's fantastic.
Oh my God, I love her. Love her.
Yeah,
She's
we had
incredible.
It's been such a special project, because the cast we became like a family. We all stayed in one hotel. So we'd hang out afterwards, but it's a really great group.
So it really was like art imitating life, or no, life imitating art.
Somewhat, yeah, but I guess so, in a different circumstance, because I don't get to work with many of the other characters. I'm mostly in the Green family, so, but I spent a lot of time with McKinley and other members of the cast outside outside of work.
So are you basically a one-woman encyclopedia of the Civil War at this point?
No, you know, when you look back and you're like, how did I remember all that stuff? I used to know a lot about that. I was like, it's not even a year ago, and I'm trying to remember all my Civil War history right now.
What has surprised you the most about, I guess, immersing yourself in that time period?
I guess how blurred the lines are. I think it's the way I was taught American history, and I loved my history teacher, but I feel like the way history books, and the way we sort of talk about it, it seems a lot more black and white. And what I love about the show and what I loved about researching is this show, it humanizes each of the characters. No one is, although she's a Confederate, you know, I remember reading that in the breakdown. I was like, the enemy.
Weird, right? That's
right,
your first reaction.
It's weird, but she has so much emotion and feeling, and her worldview is so radically changed, and I have empathy for her because she has so much pride. There's so much pride of where she's coming from and what she's known and what she's promised about her future, and she doesn't know the other side. And I love the way the show, and also doing research, it goes back and forth. It's like, well, there was this perspective and this perspective, and this was going on and this was going on, and it's like no one is right or wrong necessarily. It just depends on sort of what lens they're looking at it through. I mean, obviously, slavery is wrong, but that's not the point.
But that's actually not what this deals with.
That's not what it's about. It's more the human interaction of, you know, this family falling apart, and who is to blame for that. And that's how she's looking
I'm
at
probably not supposed to say this, but your character is my favorite one.
Oh.
Because I really feel that I would probably, if put in that situation, be like her. I mean, I can't imagine being brought up to think that life, I mean, having it really drilled into you that you're part of this class and your life would go a certain way and this is what you would expect, and then it's done and that's it. It's just over. And she doesn't react well. Like, she doesn't find her inner Florence Nightingale and become all noble and caring and giving. She's like, God damn it, you know? Like,
yeah, she's pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really what ended up happening in the South is all these, I mean, the majority of men died in the Civil War, and these women are left to their own devices. It's like their husbands are gone, their brothers are gone, their fathers are gone, and they're left to sort of, it actually gave them a lot more freedom than they had before to be very politically active. And a lot of them became politically active
Well, they
somewhat
had to.
because they were the ones left. There actually have been a lot of stories of female spies on both sides.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
because
fascinating.
everybody's dying right and left, and they wanted to do something. They wanted to take up their, what was in their hearts, basically.
I'm reading this book right now about 1940s Soviet Union, and it's kind of the same thing. It's all these women left with no men because all the men died in the two wars.
Right.
So they're literally like 20 women fighting over one decrepit man in the hopes that he'll marry one of them and they can actually, have a family.
Right.
And I feel like this is very similar in that their whole life is falling apart around them, and what do you do?
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part that we start to see in Alice. We see that transition of that sort of sitting back and waiting. She's watching the family and watching her older sister, go and serve as a nurse.
Yes.
And
find her inner Florence.
Yeah, and she's shocked. She's like, oh my gosh, that's against the rules. But I think this picture kind of describes it. She's like innocent and young and sort of excitable and
immaculately turned out.
Oh, like all the dresses, everything so much, all the finery. And then throughout the story, it gets a lot more darker and stripped back, and she's in mourning, and she ends up by the end of the season really, her sister goes more of the Florence Nightingale path, and Alice turns the other way, and she's more on the dark side. Which
And her dad has some legal problems, so there's that. Can we please talk about the costumes and the corsets?
Yes.
Do you just wear corsets for fun now? Just like when you go to class in college, you're like, I'm gonna wear a whalebone corset just because I can.
No, no, I don't. Actually, it helped me with my posture. It did do that, and it also.
It does, right? Like it makes you.
It also makes you not breathe. No, the costumes were so much fun. I mean, they really helped me get into character. So I would get dressed in the morning, and just the whole posture and way of moving and the way they glide and how the hoop skirts are supposed to move. I remember practicing, and I put on, first thing, I put on my corset just so that my organs have a chance to get settled, because they get kind of squashed around.
You were talking about that. Like, they really do move around?
They do, yeah. If you're cinching it up.
The way you're supposed to.
But yeah, and they hold, and by the end of the day, after a really long day, I'll let it out, and it's just, I can hear it go. As it's like moving back into place. It's not the most comfortable, but and you definitely lose your appetite. So it's like lunchtime is weird because you're hungry, but then you're like, oh man, if I let it out and eat, then I'll never be able to get it back in. Luckily, we only film a couple months at a time. They don't have that problem in New York. But you need it to be tight, because it holds everything up. I mean, the dresses are so heavy. We have this magnificent ball scene, and my dress weighed, 40 pounds.
Oh my God.
It's intense. You have, basically, I wear this tutu. I wear 2 tutus underneath. I put on the corset, then I do 2 tutus, and then I do a hoop skirt, the hoop to keep it out, and then I do my petticoat, and then I do, the costumers on this show, they're amazing. They're just the best team. And then, what's it called? It's like a liner. It basically
crinoline?
It smooths the crinoline out. And then the dress.
Oh my God.
So it's layers and layers and layers and layers. But I actually have a nice draft because it's all open. So we were filming in the summer, but it's like I just lift up my skirts a bit and I get air.
So you really have to plan your bathroom breaks very specifically.
Yeah, it's
right?
not glamorous.
Yeah.
No, they have to help you lift everything up.
Oh my God.
And I think about that back then in their little outhouses.
Can you imagine?
No, I don't like to.
And how did you learn how to glide? Because you're right, you're supposed to never see them walking. There's like...
Yeah, they're bells.
They're almost, exactly.
Yeah, it's a Southern belle.
Southern belle.
Well, it was just practice, basically, and not too much. There's a manner to it, so you're not supposed to show your ankles. I mean, part of the reason I think we joke that maybe the reason they had their skirts so big is because they didn't shower, and it gets so hot in the South. But I think it was also, if you show your ankles, that's very inappropriate. There are certain things, like gloves. Anytime a woman went out, I would always have to wear full, like the bonnet, the sweater, the gloves.
Even if it's like 90 degrees out.
Yeah. Yeah. Any bit of skin is not permissible. It's not appropriate.
Good God, thank God we live in like 2016.
Right?
Can you
know.
even imagine?
But there's something so thoughtful about it. There's a reason to sort of there is this gentility and this sort of culture that I'm happy I don't live in that time now, but it sure is fun to
visit for
to
4
visit.
months out of the
Yeah.
year. Are you anything at all like Alice?
I think I'm strong-willed like Alice, and I definitely speak my mind. I don't have a huge filter. She doesn't either. And she's very loyal. And I'd like to think I'm loyal. That's a good characteristic. But yeah, I really think she's such she's just in such a confused time, and sometimes I pity her because I wish she wouldn't have to go through so much tragedy. I mean, obviously she's not real, but I have empathy for younger people who are put in really intense situations, and it makes sense why someone would get so radicalized at a young age.
And here you are, you live in New York. You are based in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this lady, by the way, we were trying to schedule a phoner with her a few weeks ago, and we were having trouble setting up a time because she had finals. Do you know how rare it is to actually meet an actor who has finals?
They're just not employed, but they will be.
No, but who actually like puts school first. I think that that's pretty incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I love school. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I love going to school in New York. It's my favorite place to be.
Was that always part of your goal that no matter what happened, you would go to college?
Yeah, it was. I remember people asking me what I wanted to do when I got older, and I'd always say, well, I definitely want to go to school, and I think I want to act, but I guess it was never really a guarantee. There was always something that drew me to performance and to acting, and I started at a really young age, and I knew that I loved it, and it was so much fun. But being out of school, I always stayed in school, but I think being out of school made me really value my education and value my peers and my teachers or my professors, because I felt like I got so much when I came back. I was so excited to be there. And so I think actually working at a young age made me even more committed to being, to going to college.
And honestly, I don't think it hurt Jodie Foster or Natalie Portman's careers to go to college.
No, I mean, everybody has their own, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I just know that I have a lot of different interests, and there are certain things that I know I won't be exposed to if I don't go to school, you know? There are certain things I won't learn about if I don't get to choose my peers or choose a project I want to be on. And it's just, well, I guess I'm choosing a class, but I love my classmates because they're so diverse and their interests are so diverse, and they're so smart. You know, I always get in a room, I'm like, oh my gosh, they know so much. You know, and it's fun just being around that and being around people my age who are figuring everything out too, and what they want to do and who they want to be and what dreams they have and where we want to travel. It's great.
Has it opened up any avenues for you of things you would consider doing other than acting?
Well, I definitely am focusing my concentration on narratives, and so it's sort of helped me to focus my interest more that I do want to tell stories, and that I find them very compelling in, you know, when people, like Mercy Street is a great example. It's like, what a great way to learn history. It's
by living it,
and and you can really, I mean, I think Hamilton is a great example. Also, it's like, what a great story. But
wait, you've been to see it?
Oh my gosh, yes.
How did you get tickets?
I know people. I worked hard. I planned in advance. I took my mom. My mom was so excited. I have videos of her like trying to rap the lyrics. It's really cute.
No, literally. Like, can we do a little hookup?
Yeah,
afterwards?
I will do my best. I don't know.
Like,
I feel like that was
I'll
like
wait
a
till
miracle
2027
time. Yeah.
to go see it, because apparently that's like the next roster of tickets available.
On what?
Like in 2027.
Yeah, I heard that, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I believe it after seeing it, but I don't know what I was talking about. Narratives, school.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Were you always into history?
I always loved history. Yeah, I remember my AP U.S. history teacher, Mrs. Gerlich. Hey, Mrs. Gerlich.
Hi, Mrs. Gerlich.
She's awesome, and I love my, yeah, it's just so fascinating just walking around the city. Like, I really want to take a New York history class just so that I can walk down and go, in that building, that happened there, and so built that building, and on this date, like, I was walking through the West Village, and all of a sudden I looked over and there was a plaque where Alexander Hamilton died, where he was brought after he was shot with Aaron Burr. It's still there. You can check it out.
Or like the various bars that all these writers,
right?
You know,
McSorley's,
White Horse Tavern.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like, New York really is. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
If you could go back in time to any time in history, what would it be?
I think it would be the 1920s, like
because of the dresses.
Yeah, just the art and jazz, and I don't know. I like the literature from that period. I think that would be fun.
And if you could hang out with any historical figure?
Maybe Fitzgerald or Ernest Hemingway. I was just in Cuba. I did study abroad, and
You went to Cuba?
I thought, yeah, it's so fascinating.
What was it like?
So much. It's not an easy country to talk about at all, but it's really in transition. I mean, I know they just opened it up, right, to commercial airlines. So go as soon as you can before all
Before it
that starts
becomes
changing.
Americanized,
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's beautiful and the people are really kind.
That's so amazing. See, it's like, and how many more years do you have left of college?
I don't know. It depends on,
How fast you go?
yeah, kind of what everything's gonna look like. We'll see.
And what's your favorite class?
I took this Iliad class last semester. It was the Iliad and its legacies in drama, and it was I really love Greek tragedy. I find a lot of meaning in these sort of intense scenarios that are completely applicable to today's time, and I just think I just have an appreciation for good storytelling, and that's why I'm so honored to be a part of this production because I feel like it really deals with real issues and the human complex and sort of all the intricacies around it.
And can you imagine having this big house and then suddenly these soldiers take it over?
No,
Like what that would be like?
I don't know what that would be like, honestly. I mean, I've been imagining it, obviously, but yeah, it's something that feels so far removed from American culture today, but it's so prevalent in other societies around the world. And I think just by watching it, it kind of opened my mind up to that a lot more.
And what was your takeaway from playing Alice?
I think research, basically. You never really know a thing until you know both sides, I guess.
Well, perfect. And I think now we have time for a few audience questions. So let's hear it.
Hi, thank you for being here. I have two questions. Going off of that education bit there at the end, this is also kind of like from a personal place, kind of curiosity, because we're about the same age, and I remember growing up and watching your movies, just being so jealous of you and like other child actors. I was like, how do they balance? Like, do they go to school or do they not go to school? So it sounds like you have. So I was wondering if you could give any advice to your younger self and kids in your position, what would that be? And my second question is, since you appreciate the classics and a lot of literature, if you could play any character from, you know, the Iliad or a Fitzgerald book, who would it be and why?
Sure. I'll go with the second question first. I'm reading Antigone. I'm actually taking Antigone right now in a class, so I think I'd want to play that role. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I guess, yeah, so I did go to school. When I was working, I had a tutor. So we'd have tutors on set, great tutors. And in some ways it was awesome because I could do a lesson that might have taken them 3 months to get through in class because there are 30 kids, you know, and they all need to get on the same page, and I could get it in a shorter amount of time, or maybe if I didn't understand something, we would take a little bit longer. So, I think if I gave myself any, I probably would have loosened up a little bit. I don't know. I was a nerd in high school. I think I got a little paranoid because I was always comparing myself to my classmates, thinking that I had missed out on something. So I would end up working even harder when I think I could have relaxed a little bit more and done things on the weekend, like ski.
Like have fun.
And now I'm a terrible skier. I was like, shit.
Hi. Working on set, was there anything that you learned that you never knew about in regards to the Civil War?
I don't know. I mean, there's so much. I feel like it's so far away because it feels like almost like a different year because it's a different era. But I guess what? I don't know. What do you want to know specifically about hospitals? About, like, they didn't have anesthesia, so they used chloroform. Actually, the Civil War was a revolutionary time for medicine because it forced doctors to really try to get ahead in medicine.
Yeah, there's a line in one of the episodes where one of the doctors is bragging about how many amputations he performed in a day, and he was like, and only 2 died. So, and you're like, well, I guess that's a good statistic, right? I mean,
Good for him. Yeah.
so.
Hi, AnnaSophia.
Hi.
I know that you have such a range of film and TV shows under your belt, but what kind of parallels have you noticed, if any, among the roles that you've chosen to play?
I don't really look at them as the same characters, I guess, in comparing the roles because they feel like different people because they are. Well, I guess they're all me. So parallels.
They're all strong-willed.
Yeah, I guess they're all strong-willed or they're searching for some sort of deeper meaning or purpose, I'd say. Yeah.
And we have time for one more, please.
And I want to know how you were able to perfect the accent of that time period.
The accent?
Oh, the accent, yeah.
I worked with a dialect coach who's from Virginia, so...
Oh, and it's coming in right now.
Virginia, yeah. And Hannah, she's amazing in the show, and she's actually from like 40 minutes outside of Richmond. So I listened to her a lot and her sort of accent and how, because she's authentic to that location. And then we spent some time, but we all worked with this same dialect coach. So the Green family tried to get sort of in the same, there are different inflections. So I would go over, by the last episode, I felt really confident, but I would always go over with a dialect coach and sort of go over certain diphthongs and different pronunciations to make sure I wasn't just making a caricature.
Well, thank you so much. The season finale airs on Sunday on PBS. And thank you to our wonderful audience.